This is PNE Pod, the official podcast of the one and only Preston North End Football Club. My name's Niall.
And I'm Neil Mellor. We'll be talking to some former teammates of mine, some famous Preston North End fans, and
a man who's been associated with PNE for what? Well over a decade now. More than that, probably, Mels. We've got Andy Fensome on the show.
Fenners, he'll be telling us about his long throw, telling us about playing on the plastic pitch, promotion days as well for Preston North End.
And of course, still at the club as a youth team coach as well. So he's been telling us about his transition into that.
Yep, still nurturing, developing young players that will hopefully be playing in the North End team in years to come.
Okay, make sure you don't miss another episode of PNE Pod by hitting subscribe or follow wherever you listen to podcasts. But without further ado, let's jump into our chat with Andy Fensome. Our guest on PNE Pod today is the 1995 North End Player of the Year, Andy Fensome. How you doing?
That's a long time ago, isn't it?
Does that make you feel
Good
old?
afternoon. I am old. It doesn't make me feel old. I am old.
What have you done to win Player of the Year?
I don't really know because...
Apart from being the best player, because goalies, strikers get it.
I don't know. I think I was that poor probably the season before that people looked at me and I must have had an improved season. But it's a massive honour.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where when you look back at your career, being a player of the season anywhere, it's a proud moment for any player, isn't it?
Without doubt. I think I was close to it at Cambridge one year, and in the back of your head you think, I've done all right here. I've had a good season, and then to come to Preston, and again, my first season, I don't think I was a shining light. Didn't put myself probably in the best light with the supporters at times, and then to win it the year after, you look, like you say, you look back on it, and it's a proud moment.
Have you still got it somewhere in your house?
Yes, it'll definitely be probably in the same place as it was when my wife first seen it, up in the loft somewhere. I think it stayed out for about a year, and then she was like, "You need to be moving this."
What do they look like these days? Player of the Season trophies?
No idea. I didn't get near one.
And stuff.
Yeah.
Now, no, listen, years and years ago, it was a proper trophy type thing and a shield and.
Get them from the cobblers. Used to get them, didn't you?
Yeah, you used to go to some trophy shop, didn't you? I
Yeah.
don't know where you'd get them from now.
Proper event though, isn't it? The old Player of the Year, because I remember we'd all go and nobody would know. You sort of sat there thinking, have I got an outside chance? but it was a big deal.
Yeah,
It's black tie and everything, isn't it?
It was a proper tie. Yeah, it was a proper tie event and a big achievement.
It definitely wasn't a black tie event when ours was years and years ago, but it was a big event. And like you say, you don't know. And I remember players coming up to me and going, "Oh, this will be you," and you're thinking it would be nice, but also you get a lot of stick for it.
You came up short in the playoffs that season, the season you won Player of the Year. Would you have swapped that Player of the Year award to have been successful in the playoffs?
Yeah, definitely, because I was lucky that I went to Wembley with Cambridge, played in the very first playoff final.
What was that? Cambridge for you?
Cambridge versus, now you put me on the spot.
On the very first, I'm thinking
Chesterfield. Kevin Davis, I think, played against
So you've
us.
lost.
So, pardon?
You've lost the very first one.
No, we won.
Oh, you've won it.
We won. We were, I think, 17th in the league at the time. John Beck took over at Cambridge. We had an unbelievable unbeaten run. We scraped into the playoff places. The very first, like I say, it was the very first playoff finals. We got to play, I think it was the very first game. It might have even been the very last. It's that far ago, I don't remember. But we won. We won the final, and it was, I don't know, really strange. I was looking at it as a Division 4 player then. I played at Wembley. I thought that was it was unbelievable at the time. And again, for me, I was thinking, I've played at Wembley here, obviously the old Wembley now. And then to come to Preston, we played at Wembley. We obviously lost, and then to get into the playoffs the year after and then lose was devastating. It hurt.
Who did a young Andy Fensome support growing up?
As a young player, I supported Liverpool at the time, simply because I think my brother, who was 3 years younger than me, supported Man United. So there had to be some rivalry in the house. I come from Northamptonshire, so Northampton was my hometown, but they weren't doing great at the time. So, like most kids, you go for someone that's doing really well.
And what about a player that you sort of looked at thinking, yeah, I want to be someone like that?
That was Kenny Dalglish and people like they were. Phil Neal used to live or come from where we were, so being a defender, I was like, Phil Neal, he's achieved. He achieved really well. So probably somebody like that.
Did you ever take penalties like Phil Neal?
I ended up scoring my very first league goal, taking a penalty, and I'd been pestering the manager for months that I was banned from shooting, by the way. That's how bad I was. I was literally banned from shooting at Cambridge. There was an end called the allotment end, and it was open, obviously. Couldn't afford a lot of footballs at the time, so I was banned from shooting. And then Dion Dublin was penalty taker. He became injured, and I was like, my hand was straight up. I was there, got given the job. I don't think we received the penalty for like 3 months. Honestly, it was like unbelievable. And the game that I actually scored my first penalty, first league goal, I was ill as a dog. I was sick as a parrot. I told the manager I didn't want to play. I didn't feel I was up to playing. I had the flu. And you know what man flu's like for us footballers. It's devastating. Bit of a cough, a sniffle. And yeah, we ended up getting a penalty. I took it, we scored. I ended up playing the 90 minutes out of it because he wouldn't bring me off.
Brilliant.
You mentioned John Beck there when you were at Cambridge, but you were also managed by him at North End. And we know that when John Beck went into Deepdale that he changed things up pretty quickly. As someone who'd already experienced being managed by him, did that help you, or were you able to kind of guide some of the other lads into how it might have gone?
I remember getting the phone call to come up. I think it was Gary Peters at the time phoned me up saying, we want you up here, come up here, you know the system. And I did. I'd played for John for 4 years. Played in his very first game that he managed. And so I'd seen the system evolve and take off, and we were very successful at Cambridge with it. We got found out, don't get me wrong, and you have to change things, and we weren't really willing to change at the time. So coming to Preston, knowing exactly the system that he had, it was definitely helpful for me. And yes, I knew it inside out.
What did you know about Preston before you signed? That they had a plastic pitch?
I knew that they had a plastic pitch because I knew obviously that Luton at the time were one and QPR were another one. And I'd played on both of those at the same time. I'd played on the plastic at Preston. We were the first team to come up and play in tracksuit bottoms with Cambridge. So there we were in baggy tracksuit bottoms, shorts over the top, socks over the knees.
How was that allowed? How was the referee said you're okay with
Goalkeepers wore them.
Okay.
Goalkeepers wore them. So we were very...
You must have felt a little bit silly wearing tracky pants.
During the week, building up to it, John and Gary had said, like, you are wearing them. There's no argument about it. Everybody wears them. I want you tackling. I want you going in exactly the same. If you slide in and you get a bit of a plastic burn, I'll give you a £5. It was daft. It was like anything to sort of counteract the negatives of playing on it. So, yeah, so when we came for Cambridge... we wore tracksuit bottoms. So when I came back to Preston, by then I knew everybody was wearing them apart from Tony Ellis.
Did you train in them as well? Was it just
Yeah. No, we trained in them as well when we played on the plastic. Yeah, it's what it was. It was dangerous when you look back at it. But
what was it like as a player? Because for me, in my era, I couldn't even train on the Astro, and it was 3G, 4G, and I was saying I can't go on there, and that was like a car park.
The sand based, yeah, it was just firm, and obviously. When I played at Preston, it was coming to the end of its life. So there was bits turning up. There was like lines in it.
Did you know where those little bad bits were, where not to play the ball and all that?
I wasn't that good. I couldn't have told you that. We just knew that like at times there was sand in corners and things like that because that was the system we played. But yeah, playing on the very last game of it was a bit of a relief as well.
Yeah, but how big was that game? Because the last game was against Torquay, wasn't it, in the playoff semi-final? We've spoken to Ryan Kidd, who said it was one of the best games he's ever played in. And was that the same for you?
Yeah, without doubt. The build-up to the game was just different. We'd got into the playoffs, and the day of the game, I think we'd stayed away the night before. I think it's Southport even. And David Moyes took a walk at the time. He led a team walk. We went out and we sat down and we were outside. We sat as a group and had a chat. And to be fair to Moyes, he's gone on to be a great manager. He sort of sat us down and said, "Look, lads, this could be a last chance for some of you to get to Wembley. This could be the first chance of many for some of you. We play a system that probably we're not all comfortable with or happy with, but whatever you do on that game that night, you stand up and you be counted. If you make a mistake, you hold your hand up, you go chasing. If you do good things, let's keep it going. And literally, we started at 100 mile an hour. The game was so fast. So fast. The crowd were bouncing. You get involved in it. We were a team at the time that revelled in the fact that we could play 100 mile an hour, because you had to have quality, but at times it didn't really matter. So I remember the ball going out, ball boys would throw you the ball, you chucked it straight in. Luckily, that was one of my strengths. I had a long throw. So, we just got at Torquay straight away because we were behind.
Did you get any of the AstroTurf at the end? Because a lot of fans did get sort of piece of the Astro.
I think I was on somebody's shoulders at the time when we were coming off that pitch. I was certainly caught up on somebody's shoulders and moving across the pitch. And there used to be a really good photograph which was on a wall all the way down one side of the wall. There was me, Moisey, Carts, all on people's shoulders, like celebrating with supporters.
Neil Mellor scored. Preston take the lead, and that's exactly what it means to Neil Mellor to score in the West Lancashire derby.